Mickey sent me this video. Here we are. It says that it's Mrs. Chard. She is a traveller, and this video was done in the 1960s. So a little bit later on we're going to hear that video, and it talks a little bit. All she's interested about is her marrows, it's vegetables. I suppose when you're on the road and all that, one of the most important things you've got is your food. But one thing he mentions, the interviewer, that gypsies come from Egypt. And I was like, what? So in a moment we're going to look that up, because here we go. It's quite confusing because I put in, are gypsies from Egypt? So it talks about the Roman ones, and they originated in India. And I thought, oh, and they get mistaken as the European ones. What's making for the video? Oh, I see, I'll turn this off. And then I'll put it back on. There we go, we're back now. So they get mistaken as the European ones. And they must do it through blood pools, like blood types. Because they talk about one in a minute, but we'll just see it as it comes along. So it says here that so here it is about the Egyptians and the gypsies, and to be honest, it hasn't got an E on it, and after the P it turns to SIES, but anyway, there you go, you can read what that says anyway. So in one sense they say no, the Egyptians are not from Egypt, they're from India. And in the next breath they say, yes, they are from Egypt. There you go. Egyptian. Says it, there's a word in there in the highlighted bit. Gypsian, short for Egyptian. So in one sense they say it's not, and in another sense they say it is. So, So basically, they found it through DNA studies. And it seems that when you've got travellers in your country, they came from that country. A lot of the travellers are not mixtures from Europe and other places. They might have travelled across, some of them, but they know from the blood types that, it says it in here, we'll see it in a moment. So there you go, so those are some of the big gypsy names. I just thought this was quite interesting, because obviously when you hear Mrs. Wells talking, which you will in a minute, and it was done in the 90s, but just before I was born, anyway. So there you go, English travellers or gypsies, they're found in England. So basically they're found in that country. They don't, the travellers aren't European or they're saying that they come from the countries. The travellers are from the countries they live in, basically. I'm not saying this interview wasn't a real interview, but I just didn't think the guy looked right, but we'll look at him in a minute. But I was just looking at this lot. Why have they all got ears? They look a bit pixie-like. Do you see that? And then why do they look so masculine with skirts on? I mean, women do look a bit more masculine when they lose their periods. They don't have estrogen anymore, so we get a bit more masculine-like. But come on, these things are... Well, I don't know what to say, really. I mean, they're showing you these as women. That's got a skirt on. But look at the face and watch how it changes. You have to slow the footage down for this, but there you go. That's a man on the left. Do you think that's a woman? It's a bit upsetting, really. I mean, does that look like a woman? Does that look like a woman? That looks like a man to me. I don't know. And then him, do you see his arm down to his pocket? You see I think he's superimposed in at this bit. That's what you're looking at, is him superimposed into the footage. And his arm, I mean, are they letters? What's that? Is that an R and a K? I don't know, but it often is like this. But it's morphing. I think he's added. He's got a white line going down. I think he's added for the first bit. But anyway, what I came back for was this language. Look, they're putting it as a more English language as well, and it's this, and it's a mixture of languages in the first place, but it's definitely a language spoken in quite a few countries. Look at that. Australia, Canada, New Zealand, United States, Africa. Wow! A world language full of languages. So, obviously just read the information. Stop the video if you want to look at it a bit more, or look it up yourself. Wow, so many countries. That's like one language really, with some differences with the world, but wow. So we already had one language, so why does English now have to be the language if we actually did have a language? But I didn't really find any videos of people talking about it really. But you can see what history it's saying here. And please just go and read it, there's just so much.
Angloromani.
Yes, maybe. Well, I don't want to say anything because there's different versions of it. But there you go. Not that much, like videos on them speak, but it's included in all. Oh, anyway, you can read it. But anyway, there's a new word. Find out a bit more about it yourselves if you want to. Very interesting, though, isn't it? Maybe this is our Tartaria. Obviously, it's from here because they all spoke the same language, with a slight difference depending on which set of Romanis you come from. Sorry, Gypsies you come from.
There are an estimated 200,000 Romani in the United Kingdom, with almost all living in England. Most Romanichal speak Angloromani, a mixed language involving the presence of Romani vocabulary with English syntax.
But here you go, because there's different types of gypsies, I think. So basically it says that most gypsies are Catholic. There you go, blood type B. So that's how they know where the Romani gypsies come from. And they're European. But it says down here, as West and West European Romani with formerly closely related to India, so who knows, but they don't want to put them together. And then here it tells you 81% of the people are from gypsy travellers in England. So they're talking about that actually in that country, that is what they're called. I mean, they don't, so the English gypsies aren't, I hope you get what I mean. That was quite confusing to explain that, but you can see it in the writing in front of you, and if it goes too fast, just slow down and stop it and then look at it, because this is what the internet's saying.
If a lot of people have their way, this is a site which very soon will have vanished completely from the highways and the byways of the English countryside. The site of a gypsy camp at the side of the road. For the gypsies are nomad, and there's very little place in our society today for nomads. The gypsy arrived in this country by way of Egypt from India centuries ago, and the term gypsy is derived from the word Egyptian, where it was mistakenly believed they originated. Most of the myths and the legends built up around the gypsy, that he's unclean, that he steals, and that he's untruthful, are false, though they do apply to the Didikai, the gypsy who has intermarried with a house dweller and for some reason takes on the worst habits of both societies. This is a gypsy encampment. And this first caravan, with its gleaming paintwork and polished brass, is lived in by no less a person than the queen of the gypsies herself, Mrs. Wells. And it's her story, the story of the travellers, as they prefer to be called, that I want you to hear. Mrs. Wells, when did you become the queen of the travellers?
About 3 years ago, sir. And when my auntie died, she was the queen of the gypsies. They chased me out. They found me, and they put me the queen after I took her place.
How long have you been a traveller, Mrs. Wells?
All my lifetime, sir.
And how long is that?
Oh, do you want to look, my gentleman? I'm 80 today.
Is it your birthday today?
Yes, today,
Well,
sir.
many happy
I
returns
hope
of the
so,
day.
please
Mrs.
God,
Wells.
sir. I love this life. I've had 14 children in this life, sir, in wagons. And I never settled down, I never want. To the day I'm put in my grave, and then I gotta settle down. Haven't I, sir?
Of all your 14 children, are they travellers as well?
Well, I got 9 of 11, sir. They got their own vans the same as this. And they're all travel the same as the mother.
How do you all make a living, Mrs. Wells?
The guy gets me a bit of pension, you know, sir. There's a bit of pension I get and do the best we can, rakes along. Sometimes makes a few clothes pegs, few tables, and a few paper flowers, and hawks the country through. And that's how we gets along.
What's it like on the roads today, Mrs. Wells, compared to the old days?
Well, the day in my days was far different what it is today, sir. We could go out in the field, take the nets and the ferrets, ferret out a nice few rabbits, go and get a few taters, a few swedes, and a nice hawk of bacon or a nice little bit of beef sometimes. Put on a good pot full of taters and swedes and bacon, and make your children a good bellyful so you know they have got a good bellyful. We would crawl along and snow up for a middle to get a few green pigs sticks out of the age, to fetch them back to unthaw them, shave them, rind them, chop them up and tin them and melt them, put them on and go and sell them. To get the children some bread to keep them from starvation.
Because all your rabbits have gone now, what do you do
Oh,
now?
I wouldn't eat a rabbit now, so you give me £1,000 eating. I couldn't, so we're poison stuff, shouldn't we?
How much longer do you think the travellers will go on travelling the roads?
Well,
of
no,
this
I
country?
heard a great deal of, back some time ago, said that they was going to settle down the travellers. But they wouldn't settle down me, sir.
You will go on?
I'd be gone, I wouldn't settle down, sir. No, I'll keep roaming. I've done good for thousands, sir. And I say I'm always an old traveller, and I die an old traveller. And
I hope that's a
there's
long
not one
time to come yet.
in the world where you should never give me a bad name. And go to church and inquire to that sergeant about Mrs. Wells's character, give it to you. I've been all over the world. There's no one on earth that, yes, I was sketched one time, still a marrow, sir. I was told a marrow. I was coming across a footpath, there's a lot of Swedes. Thought myself I mustn't touch that Swede, but I'm going to have this marrow. I had the marrow, sir, and of course the farmer come to me, well, they reported it to the policeman. When the policeman come, he said, "Is you, Mrs. Wells?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Eating, I ain't going to do nothing with you." That made they look funny, didn't it, sir? I've never done that to me. Never hurted me. Give me my marrow.
It's been a
And
great
the next day I
pleasure
had another one.
meeting you, it really has, and thank you very much for letting us talk to you, Mrs. Wells.
And you're quite welcome, sir.
Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much, my dear.
You're welcome. Pretty welcome.
James now lives in Portugal, and he's in a community that's growing vegetables and fruit. Some of it's there, some of it they're planting. And obviously, I've said before, I've met James, and then he went to live in Scotland for a while, and the other day I noticed that another masterpiece. So what I'm going to do is, his words in this video. I should have numbered it like James. James is part 1, part 2. Whatever he's doing, it's all parts and numbered. I don't know how many. But anyway, enjoy this video. Thank you very much, James. Hope he enjoys this video.
It's funny when looking at the Roman Empire, how it's not fallen and it sort of morphs. There's some interesting clues though that can be found when the perspective of the commonality of symbolism can be seen. I'm pretty certain that there was talk, or I've heard of, the Third Reich was intended to exist for 3,000 years. Now what if the Third Reich is just one face of a hydra? The common link between it all is this unholy trinity. The Vatican, City of London, Washington DC is one aspect of it. Another aspect is the actual eagle. When you look at the feet, you've got basically three prongs that are where it's getting its claws in. So if we look at the eagle symbol as being a representation of the same thing, but often seemingly disconnected or from a different era, but it's no different from if you read books by particular authors, you get the feel of the way that author will write. Likewise, well, you could say with the writer, if you don't know them personally and you're just reading books that they've created and they've written, that you're dealing with a hidden hand. And there is a hidden hand that displays particular traits that become recognizable patterns. And the symbolism of the eagle is a perfect example. So if we consider this Third Reich, aka the Roman Empire, is operating for 3,000 years, it would seem to suggest something that I have suggested about this current calendar, that it is not a calendar that has a marker in the past, but it is a countdown or a count up calendar that is going to a future date. And I would suggest that that future date is, as Jason of Archaics has shown, with a chronology and the repeat pattern of 138 years with the Phoenix phenomenon, that the year 2040 is what this calendar is pointing towards. Why 2040? Well, for a start, you've got this Phoenix cycle. In almost 6,000 years, it is consistent that there is resets every 138 years. Further to that, if we just look at the numbers 2040, now in numerology, if it's a 0, it doesn't count, so you're left with 2 and 4, which makes 6. 6, or in the sense of the human chakra system, the energy centers, is the mind's eye. There's this perception with certain things that they become compartmentalized. So how many times has it been misread that 666 is an evil number? It even says in Revelations the number of man is 666. It doesn't say the number of the beast is 666. But the numerology is neutral. It has both positive and negative attributes anyway. And of course, there is the matter of perception of things, how you feel about something. Now, a perfect example of this: how many times have you had a scenario where you said to yourself, this is exactly what I did not want to happen? So why did it happen? I could take a very good guess that it is because you have put energy into it in a thing called worry. So for example, it may be fear of being on a list of redundancies. If you work for an organisation that announces there has to be redundancies, you may go through that working week feeling that negative feeling of, am I going to have a job at the end of this week? I hope they're not going to make me redundant. And of course, your mind and focus is putting energy into the very thing that you don't want. But the positive to that is that it is proof. And you only know this is proof through your own personal experience of a similar scenario to the one I have just painted. But it shows that you have the power to manifest, you have the power to co-create, purely by what you focus your attention on and how that is interpreted in the physical body as feeling. And there is this magical process. The human body is basically like a magnet in energy. So therefore, if you impress certain feelings into the body from your thoughts, be it negative or positive, wherever you focus your attention and the perspective you're coming from, is going to determine the outcome of what you draw towards you. You attract where you are at. You are a presence in the present moment. You have this natural green screen on which to project. So you can project thoughts onto this natural green screen. And there's this magical interaction. I don't know how it works. This is the best I can describe it, but how it actually works, I do not know. I have no desire to know. I'm quite content with being able to see that this works. And not only does it work, it empowers me that I know I must also take full responsibility for every thought that I hold. Because every thought is going to have a direct effect. The more I think about something, the more I focus on it, the more the probability of it becoming will increase. A quick passing thought can still manifest. I have had many experiences of that. Just a brief thought about a particular thing, and then within a day or two, the very thing I've been thinking of has come my way. That could be something, I can't even remember what the things are. There's little minute things that are actually quite insignificant, but they have huge significance when you see that it is part of a process that you're going through mastering this skill of being able to co-create. A biblical expression would be, all things are possible to he that believeth. In other words, if you can impress upon yourself the feeling that whatever you desire you already have, and you picture yourself, the way I would describe this, you picture yourself as the archer. You picture yourself also as the arrow. The arrow represents the seeing the desire through to the end, to hit the bullseye, to reach the target. So you hold true to the feeling of whatever you wish to create, and it just comes. So you hold true to the feeling of whatever you wish to create, and it just comes. If it doesn't, well, it's like everything else. It takes practice. It's no different from mastering how to walk. When you were a small child and you observed, and then you had a thought of, I wish to be able to do that. And through determination, the thinking is obviously very different as a small child, but before the change in teeth, the individual personality that is influenced by the external of this world has not really formed. It is more innocent, it is more natural. This is why young children don't feel the cold when they are so immersed in play using their imagination. That is the power to co-create. You lose awareness of this reality because you are so immersed in the imagination. It is something as we get older that is almost frowned upon and discouraged. But it is discouraged for a reason, because it goes hand in hand with having to adjust oneself. Because having that ability and being aware of having that ability of how you can create the world around you has to come from the heart. And of course, you can create outcomes on behalf of others. You can overwrite what another is saying if they're complaining about their health. Well, you overwrite that. You don't hear them saying that. You deny what your external hearing is telling you. And you impress upon yourself that they are telling you they are in perfectly good health. That creates an energy. And now, because you've manifested that thought and created that scene in your mind, and it's one that has come from the heart because you are wishing something benevolent on behalf of for another, and therefore it is freely given with no expectation of anything in return. And if you can hold true to that, that too can become a reality. You really can change the world, but it has to start with the internal world, the micro version, the you-inverse, the universe inside. I can testify to numerous small examples that, like I said, that in some ways seem very insignificant, but they've all built to creating more and more opportunities to test this out on a far bigger scale. So where I am right now is I am perfectly placed, because it affords me the opportunities to do this even more. And incredible as I am saying this, I have this intense high-pitched ringing that feels to be near the tops of the inner part of the ear. Wow, that is some kind of frequency or energy. Now some may think, oh, that's terrible, that's the AI, or a negative connotation or perspective to it. I don't feel it to be positive or negative. I'm just witnessing, I'm just observing. If it was physically real, it would be probably excruciating pain. But it is a sound in the ear that is totally distinct from the external world. And if there was another person here, I'm pretty certain they wouldn't hear it. But maybe if they were tuned in, they would. It would depend on the other individual and how attuned they are to this metaphysical overlay, to this very material, solid state reality. We are pretty much near the edge of all that is. It doesn't become more restrictive than this solid material form. But this is just one tiny aspect of something far more. But the portal is within you. You are a universe in your own right. Think of it like Russian dolls in reverse. In this inverse reality that where things are reflected, they are backwards, they are mirrored. Likewise, your aura, your whole self, is far greater than the extremities of the physical body. You have the etheric body, the astral body, and the eye organization on the outside that forms your toroidal field. And if you wish for proof of that, there is that whole thing about keeping a certain distance apart and no more than, the same number of people gathering. It's a divine comedy. This whole control system, if you think in terms of this being like a computer game, the perceived adversary would therefore be part of the infrastructure of the game, and there for a reason. In the sense of computer games, it is to improve the performance and technique of the player, but you are the controller of the player. This requires a simple step of getting out of the way of yourself. In other words, to hand over the controls to your higher self, and instead of going out into the world seeing everything as a challenge that has got to be overcome, to adopt a far more contented feeling that you are seeing something from a perspective, in the same way that you could have a fruit bowl and a series of artists that are forming a circle around this fruit bowl, and they are all creating a painting, but their perspective of that same fruit bowl will be slightly different depending on where their relative position is to the fruit bowl. And that's basically what this reality is. The reality that you see and observe does not change in the physical sense, but the feeling about it, which in turn actually does have an effect on the people that you interact with, will change as well. So your thoughts well and truly have a direct impact on this reality. Now, if you have a perception that there is this grand scheme in place that is working against humanity, the question should therefore come from that as to why would there be a need for that, such a thing? And I feel the answer is in that we have this ability to create as individualized co-creator aspects of a singular creator that is expressed in individual forms. This source, this creator, is said to be omnipresent. So why would it not be in multiple forms, infinite numbers of forms, all at the same time in the present moment, which is basically you and I and everybody else? So ultimately, when you're hurting another, you're self-harming. It's just, we've been fooled. This is the fall of man. We've been fooled into thinking we are these physical bodies, that we are at what we believe in, what our perception of the world, and well, this is how it's always been, and if I can't measure it, and I can't see it, and I can't touch it, then it doesn't exist. But the scenarios I've just given you shows that that is not the case. The scenarios show that we do have the ability to co-create. We do have this power within us. But it is firewalled off for a very good reason, because while it is not coming from the heart, if it was for self-serving purposes, not for benevolent purposes, and creating a contentedness in this world, it would just cause further chaos. In some ways, you could say that you need this control system to have some sort of order to the chaos. There are many ways of interpreting that order out of chaos. It could be seen that the chaos is created, and out of that chaos becomes this order, or there is an ordering in the chaos that influences future events, sets up scenes and various stage sets. And the things are all staged, of course, on the world stage. No accidents with these words. So I think, don't want to make this too long. It's so easy to keep going with these things when it goes into that deep level, and wow, the ears are intensely ringing. So I always take that as a good sign that I'm pretty close to the mark on things. It's not about being right, but it is about doing the right thing and doing it from the heart. And I feel the best way to do that is be our authentic self and share our personal testimonies and experiences, the only things that we know to be true to ourselves from how we feel.
A little while ago, Mickey just said, have a look at this video. It happened to be Freddie Mercury. And then every time they showed him looking at the crowd. It wasn't real. It was a cartoon. And then not long, maybe, I don't know, a day or two after. Yes, whoops, I did a spelling mistake on that one. It was all done with screens. Do you see that they're not really looking? I haven't said what it is, have I? I've just used this bit of footage. I've mentioned it in this video, but I haven't said. I just want to show you. Anyway, we'll show you one more. The one we used was Freddie Mercury. Did you see it? I think that's supposed to be Bob Geldof, the one that's jumped up there. That's quite a good one. But the most disappointing thing of all is that YouTube are not protecting you. They'd rather put on my channel that it's harmful content than facing the fact that everything that they put out is CGI and they love it. Composite, they're into the game, these people, it's all part of them. They are part of it and they go with this agenda. This agenda loves showing you things that are not real, like the news. Do you see what I mean? But I get harmful content. They demonetized me, and then this wording here says that I am using harmful content. I match everything else. We'll just look at my content to show you that very occasionally, once I've put a video out after trying to be careful and do it right, do you see everything says none? So I have no, oh there you go, see. So after I said that, well anyway, God knows who he is and it's all a joke. Oh yes, and that happened to be because it was the owner of the video. But I just thought, well, let's just stick it out. See, owner allows. So the owner allowed it, but he has copyrighted that video, which is just ridiculous. But anyway, you won't find anything much on my account where I have problems. See, and they're all, and it will go like that. And usually, if one comes up that is copyrighted, I will try and change it. See, no restrictions. So why would I on here have harmful content? The thing is, I would say that I love my YouTube family. I love my YouTube channel. I love this platform, but the people who own it are doing it to us. So I suppose really this is why if I mention anything, I'm going to get this. But you know, I've been viral, I don't know, 2017, 2018, and then they started deleting the main channels and I've come back on other channels and found it very hard to move forward. But you know what? If you want my channel, share it. Share it with your friends and write billions of comments on here to show YouTube, because they look at my channel. I tried to change a few things, do some more hangouts. I still get harmful content. And I've got to change everything in my videos before they will monetize me again. It's because I talk about the Romans. We're part of the Romans. But anyway, I'm just showing you what YouTube are doing. Do you think my content is harmful?